Alright, so the lighting isn't particularly that good in this video.
I'm not even in it.
I was gonna change the light bulb, but Connie got really mad at me for trying to change the light bulb so that the lighting would look better in the video, and she said it's Harry Potter anyway, it's dim. Don't know what that really meant.
Dimmed.
Dimmed.
Yeah, it's pretty. Movies have gotten pretty dark.
So we're going to talk about Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, 2005 I think it came out in. And we watched this about a week or two ago.
I believe it was more like 2 weeks ago because it was
Yeah.
before I went on my holiday.
Before you went on your holiday. So, Goblet of Fire, I don't remember going to see it. I really don't. I must have. And this is where you really...
I remember where I saw it. It was in Japan, 2008.
Ooh, tell that story. I'm not being sarcastic here.
Because you sounded sarcastic, didn't you? I was really looking forward to seeing it, like being in the first in the world or something like that.
2008?
2007. The summer of 2007.
Are you sure you're talking about Order of the Phoenix? Because that's when that came out.
It was the Order of Phoenix.
Okay.
So it was not.
Alright, so pause that story until the next one.
Sorry. Ooh!
I was just like, that was a fun little side story that we're not going to get to hear in this video. This is where the books started getting a lot longer. Like, you know, the first one, second one, third one, they're just a little bit longer each time. Then the fourth one was like massive. So it's where if you've read the books, it's when you first start to notice, like, okay, they're really skimming through some stuff here, taking some stuff out, which is fine. I understand why they have to do that. But it feels very rushed at the beginning. You know, it's like, okay, and now we're going off to the Quidditch World Cup, and oh, what's this? The World Cup? Too late, you know, and then they go to the next scene, and it's just like...
I was so disappointed when I saw that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this looks amazing! And then, no.
Yeah.
It skips to that. I was like, oh, that's a downer.
Yeah,
But then they sing the famous song.
I like that they...
Victor, I love you. No, I'm not going to continue. Victor, I do. When we're apart, my heart beats only for you. Feet off the table.
I was just going to say, well, you quote the whole film.
Yeah.
See, what I like is that you really... would you say you love this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I definitely do.
you seem to know it a lot more than I do.
I love the
in terms
trials
of...
and everything. It's one of my... I would say this and Prisoner of Azkaban are pretty close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
There are parts of this one that is like, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But most of it, I would say, like 85%, I really, really love.
Mm-hmm.
And Prisoner of Azkaban is probably like 90-95% I really, really
Yeah.
love. So, pretty close.
Yeah, and it's right down the bottom of my favourites. I mean, I love them all, really, but it's just...
The bottom!
Yeah,
The trials are amazing!
They are, and I enjoy it. I guess there's just other elements. Jesus Christ, I'll leave it down for free. Other elements of the other films that I enjoy more, and I feel like it's just hard to ignore the fact that you have the first two films, which are like done really well, and they have that magic to them, and then the third film they take a chance on a really interesting director, and he makes a really great film that not only adapts the story but makes it into his own kind of artistic thing. And then the next one is like, okay, now we're back to just kind of playing it a bit. I don't want to say safe, but it's a bit more...
What are you calling the Order of the Phoenix safe?
We're talking about Goblet of Fire.
I thought you meant the next one.
No, I mean the next one after Prisoner of Azkaban, because obviously Goblet of Fire
I don't feel like
is
the
the
Goblet
next one.
of Fire is safe at all.
Not safe, but like, you know, I just feel like Prisoner of Azkaban was so great and different and unique, and then Goblet of Fire, it feels a bit more routine, which isn't a bad thing, but that's just the way I feel about it. In certain cases,
It gets so dark in the end, though.
we'll get to that.
It's got such a great twist in it.
It has. One thing I loved was the way they handled the Harry and Ron fallout, because it feels really realistic, and the way they both play it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so frustrating.
Piss off.
Yeah, you really feel that.
The way it says piss off is the way I would say it.
It is. I was gonna say that. Yeah, there's that kind of the real kind of venom, and you know, obviously now they're kind of beginning to get interested in dating. It isn't really covered, but you know, just that's another thing that I always just like shake my head at is when the French girls come in and it's like a close up of their bums as they're running
Bloody
down,
hell.
and Ron's like bloody hell. It's just like, oh God.
can't even see their asses that much. They're wearing like gowns.
I know, but that's just like.
If they were wearing like skinny jeans, I'd get it. Tights, you know.
Like it both makes me kind of go, huh?
It's not even flattering what they're wearing. To be honest, like if you compare those to the where are they from? The guys.
I don't know actually. Durmstrang, I don't know where they're from.
Those are more like manly and stuff, and they're just like blue, very baggy,
and they're like
nightgown looking things, and all they do is go.
I was gonna say, it's such a weird thing when they do that as well. It's like, it's just strange to me. I don't know.
I think the entrance for the Hungarians are a lot better.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love the story. I love the book. It's a special book to me because it's the first one that I bought when it came out, and I was so excited. I remember I bought it from the school. They had like a little mini bookshop set up temporarily, and I bought it from there. I think I'd seen it the one day. Told my mum about it. She gave me the money, so I went to school with that money. Like, oh my god, I'm going to buy the new Harry Potter book today. I had it in my bag, waiting to read it when I got home. I remember lying on the bed reading like the first 100 pages, and just being like so happy that there was so much more left to go. And yeah, so I love the story, and I think they do a really good job of telling that story. Obviously, they skip some things. One thing I don't like is at the campsite when the Death Eaters turn up.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure in the book what happens is the Dark Mark gets sent up, and that's what causes the panic, and that's when the Death Eaters arrive, because that's the kind of the signal. And that's why everyone's freaking out, because no one's seen this Dark Mark in like 10, 12, 13 years. But in the film, the Death Eaters just turn up, go crazy, and then everyone's gone, and then the Dark Mark goes up. And I just felt like I wish they just stuck to the part where the Dark Mark incites all of this panic. Like it makes it feel like more of a big deal if it's done that way. But there's a lot they had to kind of skim around as far as the house elf in the book who is kind of involved. But I got no problem with
the girl house elf isn't in it at all.
No, and I can see why, because there's just a lot more to the story there, and then you got to bring Dobby back into it, and then there's just so much to.
It's too much CGI, I guess, as well.
Yeah, and just too much story, I think. We have Brendan Gleeson playing Mad-Eye Moody.
He is so great.
Perfect, like, just so great. Not entirely how I imagined the character, but yet he feels exactly like the character.
But he's not really Mad-Eye Moody.
I know, that always bugs me. Always bugs me that
Why?
it's not, because it feels like you get to know him, and you get to love him.
I like that character.
Yeah.
I like when he's that moody bastard, miserable.
Yeah. But then you get to the end, you realize it was never him,
No, but I mean, he's acting like him in.
Yeah, but it's just there's always like but it makes for a great twist when you find out.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. And so yeah, and I enjoyed the trials element and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, overall, I really enjoy it. Now the ending is great. This is where we get
the Return of the Dark Lord.
This is where we get to see Ralph Fiennes, who, I mean, they couldn't have cast someone more suited, I think. Just like his body language, like the way he moves.
Snake-like.
Yes, it's like it's not just like he's got a great voice or the makeup's good, just the way he holds himself and the way he moves and seems to glide at times. But also I love that it wasn't a case where Ralph Fiennes, he wasn't like, okay, I'm going to be evil and dark and sinister, but like he has the kind of the spirit of the character in the moment where he's got Harry in the graveyard. He can kill him. Flick of his because he's taken part of Harry's blood, which means that Harry's no longer protected by the kind of the sacrifice that his mother made to save his life. So Voldemort can now touch Harry and he can kill him. But he doesn't. He gives him his wand. He's like, come on, Potter, fight, He's got that kind of spiteful nature to him where
and
he's
the
arrogance
that he's got as well when he's Lily, litter everywhere. Are you kidding me? Carpets.
Yeah.
I know what you mean though. I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of the arrogance of Voldemort that really in the end becomes his downfall, and you can see it right from the quote unquote beginning when we first see him in the flesh reimagined. I think the design on him is perfect as well, and this is when it really gets, again, I hate to keep saying it, but gets dark. But I think that scene in the graveyard is when it really everything switches.
Yeah.
Like we've seen darkness and playing around with death in the first 3 stories, but
it's gradually gotten darker and darker.
yeah, but it's that moment when Cedric gets killed, and it's like, okay, shit is really
when
getting
he gets
serious now.
sent back.
Yes, and that's
I cannot watch that scene without crying. Well, it's sad when he's like over him and stuff like, and Daniel Radcliffe has gotten better with acting.
yes,
By this point, I think he grew doing that scene as well because he had to really like cry and stuff like that. I think that helped the next movie.
Yep.
But when Cedric's dad goes like, "That's my boy," and it just breaks my heart the way he plays it. And of course, I'm thinking, what if it was, my boy, if I had a boy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I always let myself go in that moment. I just sit there and I just let everything just like. It's really, really, really good, and that is when everything changes.
Yeah.
It changes in the graveyard, but when it comes back, stuff like that, and then you really feel it because you don't get to grieve Cedric.
Yeah.
Because you're so caught up with the fact that Voldemort is there,
Yeah.
And he's trying to kill Harry, and you see Harry's parents and everything like that.
Yeah, and I think the moment when Harry grabs the portkey and comes back with Cedric's body, like that moment is so perfectly played because it's so awful because they land, they turn up, and everyone's like, "Yay!"
Yeah,
and you're just like, "Oh no!" And then the slow realization, like it's just so well done. And there's one bit which obviously in the film they're trying to preserve the mystery of who put Harry's name in the goblet, and there's a shot of Karkaroff kind of like closing the door, like looking really.
Yeah,
it's like
what was he doing?
It's like, why was he doing that? Because he never had anything to do with it.
But what did he do?
Nothing. I don't know.
Maybe he made it so that it was definitely Victor.
Yeah, well,
who got it instead of the other guys.
Perhaps, yeah, and there might be something I'm forgetting from the book, but obviously you have to have that in there to make the audience believe what you want to. I love the scene when Malfoy gets turned into the ferret. Again, I
love Moody there.
Yes, he's just really, really funny.
Teaching. Is that just student?
I mean, there's really loads of great scenes. The scene when he first gives them a lesson and shows them the unforgivable curses, and when like Neville, you can see that affecting him because of his parents, which you learn in the next one. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of anything else really to touch on with the Goblet of Fire. And there's that whole thing that everyone talks about where in the book it's like Dumbledore says, "Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" calmly. And then
Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
I know, right? I think it's been exacerbated by the memes that people post online because if you watch the film, he isn't really that angry. He's just a bit more urgent, So even I thought, oh, okay, it's not that bad. It's not that over the top. But still, I think there are those moments where, for me, Dumbledore is more of a calmer presence, and that isn't really represented as well as it could be in this one.
All I can picture, if it was the other guy, I just picture him looking up over his glasses going like, "Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?"
Yeah.
Or more like, "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?"
I think the number one thing from this film that I kind of carry around with me more than anything is, because we say this to each other all the time, is the line "glistening with the ghosts of."
Oh my god!
Because it's just that we just quote that so much.
Like the movie before with a spooky. Oh no, that was Chamber of Secrets.
Spooky. So Goblet of Fire. Anything else you'd like to add?
Can't think of anything now.
Yeah. So I really, really like it. I enjoy it more every time I see it, but it's still probably down at the bottom for me. Which, yeah, again, I love them all, so it's not. But it is kind of. It's not one I'm going to be like, oh, let's watch Goblet of Fire randomly, But if we're watching all of them, then obviously you have to do it. But I think if I'm going to watch like one, it's more often than not Prisoner of Azkaban or something, and this would be lower down the pile. And yeah, there's just And I also enjoy how their hairstyles, at least I think really only Daniel Radcliffe and Rupert Grint is so indicative of the time period of the mid 2000s.
No, Fred and George as well.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. The twins, they have their hair is, and I remember there's an interview with them.
It's very Beatlesy that time of the year.
Yes.
Or that period.
Yeah, mid 2000s it came back.
The guys in my school had the same type of haircut around that time as well. It was a very trendy thing.
Yeah, and I remember in the interviews when the film was coming out, they kept asking them like about their hair and stuff. Oh, we got like a rock star hair going on. And yeah, Rupert Grint's just like, oh yeah. Just he's just so like,
let it grow out.
So passive. So there you go, Goblet of Fire. That's it.
He's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you. 'Cause